Today on Live It Up, we welcome Ken Page, and he is a psychotherapist and also an author, and he wrote a book called Deeper Dating. Welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you here.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you, Donna.
So this book, many years in the making, right? It's not like you just woke up one day. Okay,
Yes.
so tell us about the journey of this book.
Well, you know, I was single. I called myself chronically single. I was one of those people who always wanted to be in a relationship and never was. I think 6 weeks was my longest relationship for many years. And
I don't mean to laugh, but I'm sure so many people in the audience can relate with that.
Oh,
they're looking for
man.
love, and
Yes,
right.
yes, looking desperately, knowing I wanted it. People would say, you don't really want it because you would have had it by now if you really wanted it. And I would say, no, I really want it. And I just felt like whatever that it was, I was missing it. And this, went on for many, many years. And also, I was a gay man, so that growing up in the 50s and the 60s did not make it easy. But it was something I wanted. I wanted a family. I wanted a relationship. And that journey propelled me to get a lot of help with what I was doing wrong. And gave me a lot of help in getting away from all the horrible messages that single people get. You have to look perfect, you have to look young, you have to act confident, you have to be irresistible, you have to be this and that, and all of that stuff guides us away from love. So I started learning wiser messages. I started learning from therapists, from friends, how do you really find love? And as I learned, my dating life began to change. Somewhere along the middle, after so long of not finding a partner, I felt called to become a father. And that took me on a giant journey, and I adopted my child, my baby, from Cambodia, came back home with my child, continued raising him, having a dating life, and finally met my husband at an event for gay parents. And we fell in love and blended our families. But what I learned as a psychotherapist, I began to teach. And the most amazing piece of what I learned was this, that the parts of ourselves that we hide in order to find love are the parts of ourselves that are going to lead us to the right relationship. The very
That is
parts.
so profound.
Isn't that?
But
It
I
is.
so believe that.
Yeah.
The deepest intimacy for me is when somebody reveals who they really are
Exactly.
underneath the surface.
That's the key to finding love, is finding the parts of yourself that felt too fierce, too tender, too powerful, too sensitive, and learning that they're your treasures. And when you lead with those qualities in your search for love, that's when you find people who really like you for who you are, and you're finally going to be attracted to them instead of running away. And that's the vision of what I teach, and have helped so many people find love in the same way that I learned to find it finally.
There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable.
Right.
Because until you can be vulnerable to another person, then it just seems like everybody else is just the same.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Person.
Game.
Right.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's running their same little tapes over and over and over in their head. So probably after dating people for 6 weeks, it was you that maybe needed to tweak it up a little bit, right?
I needed to change it.
You needed to change.
And this is something I've learned, that in all of my decades as a psychotherapist and in my life, this is probably the thing that comes closest to feeling like a miracle. And it's this: when we learn to treasure those parts and lead with them, all of a sudden we find people who love those parts of ourselves. And we find that we're sexually and romantically attracted to them. Our attractions change, and the people we meet change. And in my work as a teacher and as a therapist, I see that again and again. You start learning to treasure those parts and only choose people who treasure them. Watch how things begin to change. And it's a holy thing. It's a sacred thing, and it's kind of like a miracle.
I love that. And there's a woman who recognized that miracle in you, Oprah. Tell us what she had to say about your book.
Well, Oprah's people, not Oprah per se, but have been very, very supportive of my work, and they excerpted a part of my book, and I've been in tons of her newsletters, the book club newsletter, because of this concept that I teach, which is the difference between attractions of deprivation and attractions of inspiration. Because I spent years being attracted to the bad boys, the people who were unavailable, the people who were tough, the people who didn't really care and didn't feel things the way I did. I felt like they had what I was missing. And those are what I call attractions of deprivation. And so many of us spend our lives looking for love in those wrong places. And when I realized that I could also be attracted to people who inspired me by their goodness, by their decency, by how they treated me, everything began to change. And so that's the piece that Oprah excerpted, was this concept that when you stop following your attractions of deprivation and you start following your attractions of inspiration, that's the path to happiness. That's the golden path. And anyone can use that message.
And you may be surprised to know that I think she signs off on everything. So you might not think that it was personally her, but I'm pretty positive. So I've heard from her team that
that's great to hear.
nothing gets her stamp in her name unless it's her stamp in her name.
Love to hear that.
And the Wall Street Journal. That's exciting. They've also paid
yes.
attention to you. What's going on with that?
Well, they've had me on for advice a few different times, but I'm excited about the one that's going to be coming out today online and tomorrow in print. It's about developing your personal mantra. And this is, to me, it's my most exciting practice that I teach. And here's what it is. It's really simple.
Okay.
You picture the person you want to be in the world. You just get a picture of kind of like a wiser you. Like a wiser, kinder, more insightful you, like a you down the road. And then you picture that person's face. You picture this kind of luminous you, the you are born to be. And then you kind of become that you, and you look at yourself right now and you think, what do I most want to tell Donna sitting here right now? And then you write down the words. And what comes out is just amazing. And I teach people in this Wall Street Journal article how to create a mantra out of that. That is your kind of message of how to get really where you want to be. So that's what that Wall Street Journal article is about, and I'm excited about it.
I love that. And I think for me, the journey has been, is that I have become my brand. Like for me, Live It Up is who, really truly who I am.
Yes.
Like I live it up at the core of my essence.
Yes.
And the other day I was thinking about that and I said to myself, I'm like, well, I think that is part of me that I like the best, is that every day I try to live every day to the fullest. I try to encourage other people every day, even if you have challenges, to just step up and live.
Yes,
you know? So because we're so lucky to be here.
Yes, we are.
So.
And I'm just sure it was such a journey for you to finally become someone who could say yes to that part of you instead of hide it, make it more like everyone else. You embraced it, and you're living proof of that concept.
And sometimes I'm still shy once in a while, but you know, I overcome that with something fun, right? So this is Deeper Dating.
Yes.
Excellent book.
Wonderful book. And
available Amazon, all different places,
Amazon,
right?
you can go to deeperdating.com and you can get tons of free gifts. And that's the book. I started writing that book single, and I finished writing that book married.
Ta-da!
So, yes.
So it worked for you?
It
worked for
me,
others too.
And an amazing story of my marriage, yeah.
Ken, thank you very, very much for joining us. I look forward to knowing you over the years. Stay tuned for more on Live It Up, and here's to you, Deeper Dating.